My boyfriend waited 2 years to tell me he wants kids after I made it very clear that I am child-free from the beginning. Looks like it's time for me to go. My boyfriend and I moved in together about a year ago. I've been very clear from the second date that we ever went on that I don't want biological kids. I've discussed it at length with him, and until about 2.5 weeks ago, I thought we were on the same page. He told me he didn't think he could do another 18 years of child rearing, as he already has a 10-year-old daughter. She just moved in with us in January. He bought a house, we got a dog together. I was planning for an entire life with him and his daughter. Originally, he told me he bought the house so that his daughter would have a bedroom. He told me the other night his entire purpose in marrying me was to have a child, news to me, and that the whole reason he bought the house was so we could build towards having an actual family, minimizing the one that we already have. I've been crying in secret for 2 weeks. I finally accepted yesterday that I probably can't stay in this relationship. I wanted marriage, and he's telling me that marriage is innately tied to having a child with him. I can't compromise that part of myself. But I'm also trying not to spiral. My car broke down unexpectedly yesterday, it's raining oil out of the bottom, and I have no savings. I've been living paycheck to paycheck. I've been spending money on our mortgage, 4 pets, on activities with his daughter, and on paying down credit. I have no idea what my next step should even be. And the worst part is that I love him so much still. He is such a good person, and everything feels so normal, except that he doesn't want to get married anymore and he wants to have a kid, and I still don't. I am struggling to see solutions. I know I need to leave, but logistically I am having so much difficulty figuring this out, especially trying to sort through my feelings in the midst of it. Edit to clarify, I am not on the mortgage with him. I told him I would not sign anything together until / if we ever married. I have been contributing to basic cost of living things, mortgage payment, bills, groceries, etc., because I care about him and thought we were building towards a life together. I didn't want him to have to do things alone, because I believed we were in a partnership. He has helped support me as well, however, he has also ignored my voice in ways I dismissed and am able to see now. I want to say I really appreciate everyone's suggestions and support. It is really helpful and meaningful, and also validates my decision. Relative comments, your immediate next step should be to secure your birth control. I know you probably don't want to believe that he's the kind of guy who would sabotage birth control to get what he wants, but he is the guy who has been lying to you about what he wants for years. Make sure that whatever birth control you're relying on is not one he can mess with, aka no pills. After that, you need to look towards other forms of security. Stop spending money on activities with his daughter, tell him you can't afford that. See if you can pick up any extra income on the weekends, like by pet sitting, yard work, babysitting, tutoring, or whatever else is available and fits your skills. You've got a reason you can point to as to why that's necessary, fixing your car, but it also cuts into the time you have available to spend with him. Ask around with your friends or coworkers to see if they know anyone looking for a roommate. Do not feel guilty about lying to him about your plans to get out of this relationship. He has been lying to you for years about what he wants from this relationship with you because he knew it's not what you want and he wanted to get you sucked in anyway. You can't trust him to have your best interests in mind. Comment number 2, is he keeping you broke? It's subtle, but that's what they do. You have to pay X because it's fair and you don't want to be a burden, right? Pay half the groceries, even though he filled the cart with steaks and brand names. Can you grab me a case of beer while you're out? You should take daughter out for X and Y, don't you love her? Buy this, buy that. Update, so, several people requested an update. Boy, have I got one for you. I dropped my vehicle at the mechanics on Friday, and waited until Tuesday to hear anything back. He called me back on Tuesday afternoon, once I was just off work, to tell me that he had diagnosed the problem, and it was going to be less than $300 to fix it. He told me it would be about a week before it was done. I began to make arrangements with a kind coworker of mine for rides to work, and then that evening I got a call from the mechanic again. He told me that he had gotten hold of the part he needed, replaced it, and that my car would be ready for pickup that evening. Tuesday night when I got home from this, however, my boyfriend and I ended up in an extremely intense discussion, during which he once again clarified that he doesn't give 2 shits about getting married. Not only did he make us abundantly clear, he actually spent about 2 hours essentially dismissing, minimizing, and deflecting the importance of marriage to me, and kept throwing it in my face that the way I feel about marriage with him is the way he feels about kids with me. He said nothing would change if we got married, but when I asked why it matters so much if nothing would actually change, why wouldn't he just get married to me since it's obviously important to me, I got no response of any substance. Only deflection and patronization. It was honestly devastating, and I couldn't do it justice typing it out, but I spent from 9 p.m. until 1 o'clock in the morning crying. I sobbed myself to sleep. There was no room for denial at that point, and because my vehicle had miraculously been fixed, I had an out. Wednesday, I contacted a local landlord who I have rented from previously. I asked if they had any units available, and they did. Within my price range. At a flat rate. She told me she would call me back, and she did, and she said I could come in the next day to look at it. Which brings us to today. After I got off work, I went straight to the landlord's office and called the keys to go look at the apartment. It's tiny, but it's perfect. I decided to take it. And I knew that when I got home, I had to tell him. He came home after me, and when he walked in the door I asked if he had any plans made prior to that evening and he said no. I didn't want to disrupt anything that he had intended to do with the conversation of me moving out. But it turned out that he didn't, so we had it. I initiated by telling him I was moving out, and when he asked why, I told him that it was clear from our conversations over the last couple of weeks that there had been a lot of unspoken expectations that were affecting our relationship, and there was no way to gain clarity about those while we were living together. In that conversation, he told me that he had invested everything in our relationship, and he asked me what I had invested. He acted as though I had railroaded him through our entire relationship, and told me that he was compromising on having children, but the one time that he asked me for anything, I refused to compromise. He guilt-tripped me again about how he's either having kids with me, or he's not going to have them at all due to his age, and this is his last chance. He told me he'll never date again if our relationship doesn't work. He blamed me for having to explain what is happening to his daughter, and based on what he said, I don't think he's going to let me say goodbye to her. He was surprised when I told him that I wanted the dog to stay with him. And I said I am doing this because marriage and children in relationships don't have a gray area. I don't see a way to bridge that gap, because we want different things essentially, and I said I'm not ending the relationship because I don't care about him, his daughter, our life, the dog, anything. But I'm doing it because I believe this is the right thing to do right now. I even told him I could be wrong, but I wasn't sure what else to say. And he went back to marriage. Not changing anything about the relationship, and minimizing the value of it. He said he would still essentially be doing everything in the relationship, and committing to it, without marriage. And I responded to that by saying I didn't understand how he could make all these commitments and invest so much, but be unwilling to fully commit through marriage. And the final nail in the coffin for me was when he said he views marriage as an institution, and he doesn't need a piece of paper to validate his relationship. And that he, unlike me, was not brought up in a religious environment of sheep that led him to believe marriage was the make or break of a successful relationship. After that, I cried a lot, and I went to get some ice cream. I feel better now. I'm going to start moving my stuff into the new apartment tomorrow, and everything worked out at a rapid rate that tells me I'm on the right track. Thanks to the community for the encouragement here, I thought I was going crazy. And then after this conversation tonight, I realized that the only time I actually feel crazy is after I talk to him. I'm also looking forward to having my own place again, quiet, just for me. I know that I'll still be sad for a while, but I also know that I'm going to be okay.
Follow for the latest gossip, Hong Kong.